5:06 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Hope you are doing well, and welcome on in to a Wednesday, August 20th. And there is a lot going on this morning. Joan, you know what I'm looking forward to most of all this morning?
What are you looking forward to most of all, Dan?
Besides 8:59:50 when I'm leaving the studio?
Yes.
Jeremy Finley is an investigative reporter. Jeremy Finley is going to come in.
Oh, nice.
And I've covered this story before, and I've been trying to get him on for a time, where I'm going to say law enforcement, statewide law enforcement. I'm not going to say exactly which law enforcement agency because I want to be able to tell the story with Jeremy Finley. But law enforcement has been pulling people over and giving people drunk driving tests, sobriety tests on the side of the road. And even though these people, their tests come back negative for any kind of alcohol, they get arrested for drunk driving. And so the accusation is that some law enforcement here in the state of Tennessee have been arresting people for drunk driving, destroying their lives, and it takes quite some time for the tests to actually come back. But by the time the tests come back, the blood test, whatever, urine test, whatever it is, then and they are proven innocent by way of the tests, that takes a long time. But the accusation is that they failed the sobriety tests off the side of the road. And so the question is, why is law enforcement arresting people that are not drunk for drunk driving? Because the testing ultimately shows that they're not drunk. Well, they're destroying lives. And this actually happened to a friend of mine. So Jeremy's going to join us at 8:05, and we're going to talk about which agencies are doing this, which agencies are most guilty of doing this, what he's finding out about all of this, and what are the next steps. And so that is all coming up here on Super Talk 99.7. He'll be joining us again at 8:05. Looking forward to that conversation. So there is that. And full disclosure, right up until the very second that I turned on the microphone, Joan, we weren't sure if this whole broadcast was going to get off the ground.
Oh, wow. I saw a little scramble over there.
There was, between Louie and myself, we're running between studios. We're trying to figure out what is the problem with the studio. We finally figured it out, again, just nanoseconds before I was able to get on the air.
Crazy.
But here we are.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Louie, need some video, if we could, please. I'm going to stop.
Are we going to do it all day long? No. Honestly, Dan, really?
No, we're not.
Okay.
I'm sorry. All right. Tulsi Gabbard was on with Sean Hannity last night. So there's, that was an accident. Is our national security and our intelligence agencies, are they compromised? So we all know what is going on with the deep state. We all know that they worked collectively along with their allies in the media to try to take down Donald Trump in the first election. We've spoken about that a lot. Now what Tulsi Gabbard has done, and I love this, is now she is revoking security clearances for some of these folks that are embedded within the national security and intelligence agencies, as she continues to try to root out the problems. Sean Hannity had her on his TV broadcast last night.
Do we have deep state actors that are trying to influence our presidential elections? Is that what we're concluding here?
Yes, we have people within the intelligence community. Again, when you look at this example of who President Obama charged with this task, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey at the highest levels, but also those who worked as careerists within the intelligence community who did not object to their manipulation and manufacturing of intelligence and actually helped them get there, all moving towards their partisan interests, that they were not happy with the outcome this election, and they were willing to do whatever it took in order to try to undermine President Trump's administration during his first term in office. These are bad actors that have to be rooted out. Our national security depends on it. The ability for the American people's trust to be earned back depends on exposing the bad actors and holding them accountable. And that's what President Trump is determined to do.
Well, I love that she has done what she has done in an X post last night. Gabbard confirming reports of the action to revoke those clearances, writing, being entrusted with a security clearance is a privilege, not a right. Those in the intelligence community who betray their oath to the Constitution and put their own interests ahead of the interests of the American people have broken the sacred trust they promised to uphold. And so now part of my question is, and I don't know, Joan, if you know this, but there's a lot of people like a John Brennan and was it John Bolton, the walrus guy? That's John Bolton, right? The walrus mustache guy. Mm-hmm. And, James Comey, all of these folks for a long time, even after they leave the agencies, they still have their security clearances.
Yeah.
They're still getting really important information. And then, of course, they're free to go on the likes of CNN and MSNBC and bash Donald Trump. And, of course, the ultimate, betrayal, irony, whatever it would be John Brennan and James Clapper and people of their ilk, where they set Donald Trump up for these accusations of Russian collusion, setting him up for the Mueller investigation, that whole thing. And they were on MSNBC and even the networks talking about how Donald Trump colluded with the Russians, even though they were the ones that put this whole plot to frame Donald Trump together.
They were also among the 51 former intelligence agency officials who signed a letter that said, hey, that thing about the laptop.
Yeah, the laptop.
That's Russian disinformation.
I remember that.
Yeah, they were among those liars.
So it's all about the things the left did to take away the right of the American people to have a fully functional, constitutionally elected president of the United States and be able to execute the duties and the oath that he took, all the while making our enemies stronger. And so that is what they did. So we'll have to continue to watch this story. But, this does appear, they say, to be a first for the FBI. We'll have to see ultimately what happens. They say in what appears to be a first for the FBI, Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel announcing on Monday that Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey will serve as co-deputy director. Now, Dan Bongino is currently deputy director of the FBI. Now they're bringing in somebody to, I guess, work alongside of him, Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey, who, by the way, is very well thought of amongst the attorney generals. Bailey will serve beside Bongino. Bondi and Patel told Fox News Digital, which was first to report the announcement. Bongino was tapped as the FBI's sole deputy director earlier this year. That, of course, caused a stir in July when he largely excommunicated himself from most of his colleagues following a significant rift with Bondi over the handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Now, what does this mean? I've got a theory, and I've got it for you coming up next. It is 5:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
All right, so we do have that closure in Hendersonville, Old Shackle Island Road between West Main Street and Volunteer Drive. That's railroad repairs. And otherwise, the roads this morning looking very nice. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. You know what? We were in such a state this morning that Louie's got my weather. Hey, Louie, you want to read the weather? This is the kind of morning that we're going to have here in the 5 o'clock hour. So
it gets better from here.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
So
What's the weather,
Louie? It's going to be partly sunny. It's not as hot, but humid with a couple of heavy thunderstorms. Storms can bring flood, pour downs, and localized damaging wind gusts. A high of 89, feeling like 100.
All right, there you go. Feels like 100 degrees today.
I think Louie's TV ready.
Is Louie TV ready?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, I do.
Isn't Louie, you put yourself on camera, don't you?
I'm going to be a star.
We put Louie on camera one time.
Yeah.
And that was to show his teeth.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's got that grill.
Do you still have You still have your grill?
He's got his grill. I can see it every time he smiles.
Yeah. Flash me over here. I mean, your teeth. Okay, gotcha.
Wow. Okay, moving right along. So with Dan Bongino, your mic is still on, Louis. With Dan Bongino, they're bringing in it's almost like a second, a second deputy for the FBI. I think Bongino might be on his way out. I think that might be what it is. Now, listen, I like Dan Bongino, but as the article that I just shared with you pointed out, that whole thing with Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and the Epstein files and all of that, he's angry. Bongino is angry. He's really ticked off at how this whole thing went. From what I understand, Susie Wiles, remember that? She had to step in, Donald Trump's chief of staff. It would not surprise me. Here's what I think may happen with Bongino, who I like a lot. He might be on his way out, and he might ultimately be, maybe he goes back to radio. I really don't know. But he has made the statement before. I don't have it handy, but he's made the statement before that it seemed to me like he was regretting that he had left his, really nice life as a syndicated talk show host and a podcaster, and he had opened up his own studio out there in Florida, the whole thing. And I think he got to the point where it's like, what the hell have I done? He's in the middle of all of this chaos, missed his wife back in Florida, the whole thing. So I do wonder if Bongino is going to say, shine this, I'm not doing this anymore. And maybe he ultimately goes back to Florida and he picks up his life, whatever it is that he ultimately chooses to do. That may be what Bongino is doing. I will tell you that this Missouri Attorney General, again, as I said, very well thought of. I want to play another audio piece from Tulsi Gabbard, because I think that this whole story about how they're revoking dozens of people, I'm going to call them within the swamp, the national security and intelligence agencies, how I still believe, even though they are doing their best, their red level best to try to get all of these people out of the swamp, there's still a lot of bad actors inside the swamp. This is more of Tulsi Gabbard as she was speaking last night to Sean Hannity. And I got video here, Louis, if we could.
If you go to odni.gov, people who say, well, Tulsi, this is just your view or your interpretation. No, it's all in hundreds of pages of documents that I've declassified and released that show point by point exactly what happened through this timeline that showed this very dangerous thing that occurred in the creation of Russiagate, the creation of this manufactured intelligence assessment that essentially had the intent of undermining the voices and votes of the American people who elected Donald Trump.
When we all know what happened in 2016, I mean, it is painfully obvious. So the more that we learn, the more disturbing it becomes. And, we've got a midterm election coming up. We've got the presidential election coming up in 2028, long way away. And I totally get that. But I heard the Red Eye guys talking, and it was a great conversation. I love those guys. And they're talking about, how do you define the Democrat Party? You've got open borders, you've got, pro-illegal alien, pro-crime, pro-men in women's sports, pro-men in women's bathrooms, women's locker rooms, women's spaces, the whole thing. Pro-higher taxes. And I think that we also need to put in there at some point pro-treason. And the reason I say that is because of what Obama and Clapper and Comey and Brennan, what they all did. Let's not forget, of course, Adam Schiff as well. So when you talk about what defines the Democrat Party, I would definitely add in there pro-treason.
They were not happy with the outcome of that election. And so they created this politicized, weaponized piece of fake intelligence that, as you mentioned, then went on to serve as a foundation for everything that came after, the multiple investigations, the years-long Mueller investigation, 2 congressional impeachments, investigations in the raid at Mar-a-Lago.
Yep.
The list goes on and on. Ultimately, the real crime here was against the American people.
That is so true. The ultimate crime was against we, the people, we, the American people, Because honestly, if you think about it, these Democrats, they violated our Constitution. Because we voted for Donald Trump in 2016, and they wrapped him up in so much crap that he just wasn't able to do what needed to be done. And again, I'll say it again. Can you imagine what Donald Trump could have done in that first administration had he just been allowed to do his job?
Because this action singularly undermined the integrity of our democratic republic. What to speak of the fact that some of those folks and those 37 individuals that we directed the revocation of security clearances from today under the direction of President Trump, they aided and abetted in this action, this seditious conspiracy that undermined our democracy,
made our enemies stronger,
undermined our republic, and broke that sacred trust that every one of these professionals is supposed to have from the American people.
So-called professionals, and that is Tulsi Gabbard last night on Sean Hannity. By the way, I'm assuming our video is working this morning. We are, of course, live every weekday on Facebook, Rumble, Twitch, X, 997WTN.com, and our favorite YouTube. So there is video. If you're watching online, I have video to just about all of the audio that I'm playing these days. So if you want to check us out, you certainly can on any of the platforms that I just mentioned. You can also chat with us live, 615-737-9986. Super text line is going to be open here in a second, so I always love conversing with you on the super text line. Also, you can chat with us on YouTube as well. You can also download the podcast. You can listen to the podcast anywhere you get podcasts. And, Joan, we're kind of like a bad rash.
Keep showing up.
You just can't get rid of us.
I like to think of us as something a little more pleasant than that.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. I mean, I fancy us to be a little more pleasant.
A little bit more pleasant?
Yeah.
Just a little bit? All right, fair
Slightly.
enough. I'm not sure if others would agree with you. Anyway, Joan Jones is here. Joan, what is coming up? 529 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So, Chris, very quickly, Joan, because we were a little discombobulated this morning, so just so everybody knows, just for whatever reasons. And Chris, watching on YouTube, very astute, because I think Chris noticed that I was reaching for my throat coat cup.
Yes.
And it's like not where it usually is. It's like across the desk, and I couldn't reach it. And he says something about, "Oh, Dan, your throat coat is too far away." I mean, that he clearly knows my routine. Play audio, drink the tea, put the tea, but it's way over there. That's how crazy it was this morning. So that's number one. Number two, another guy on the, I think it's the YouTube chat or the Facebook chat, but a guy says something about Dan must be really smart, so smart that his brains push out his hair.
Oh, man, Dan.
Because, the bald jokes never get old. Anyway, There's a lot more coming up. Straight ahead, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 537, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, a couple of things. First of all, I know that the story with Jeremy Finley, that I'm going to have him in studio at 8:05, that's a story that's been going on, but there are updates to the story that he actually had. It was not last night, but I think it was the night before, regarding law enforcement here in the state of Tennessee who are arresting people for drunk driving who ultimately are proven to be sober. And so there has been some new updates to the story, which is why I'm having Jeremy Finley in, because I've been covering this story as it goes along. And the reason why this is such an important story to me is because, and Joan, I was telling you about this off the air. I don't know if I've actually mentioned this on the air. I think maybe I have. But a friend of mine was arrested for drunk driving. She totaled her car, and they arrested her for drunk driving. She was stone cold sober. And they arrested her for drunk driving. And I would have to confirm this with her. Do you know what I think they asked her to do? Joan Jones.
Yes.
Say the alphabet backwards right now.
Are you kidding me?
Louis,
Z.
say the alphabet backwards right
Y,
now.
W, U.
See, nobody can do it, right?
Right.
So there are, from what I understand, there's some law enforcement that will actually use that as a way to indicate whether or not you're drunk or sober.
Oh, come on.
Right? And my friend who had been arrested, she's actually featured in the Jeremy Finley reporting. It destroyed her life. I mean, her car was totaled. She got into a traffic accident. Her car was totaled, but she wasn't drunk. But her car was totaled. And then they said that she was drunk when she wasn't. So she had to go through all of this just rigmarole with her insurance, with her license. I mean, it really, it put her life on hold for a while. It really does destroy lives. And I'm going to let Jeremy Finley, who has been talking about all of this and reporting on all of this, great investigative reporting. And he's just, the people that these law enforcement agencies do this to, they just destroy their lives. And so I think that it is definitely worth the interview and it is worth the highlight. And I'm going to do it on here on WTN at 8:05. Joan, do you think that the people of Ukraine, do you believe that they want an end to the war, or do you think that they want to keep fighting? Need some video, Louie.
I think I've heard this story, but I think at this point they want an end to this war.
They want an end to this war. This is CNN's Harry Enton.
There have been some absolutely major shifts. The idea that Ukraine's going to achieve complete victory, that idea has collapsed within Ukrainian society. What are we talking about here? Ukrainians on the war versus Russia. You go back to 2022, the start of the war. Fight until Ukraine wins. Look at this. The vast majority, about three-quarters, 73% agreed with that position. Negotiate to end the war as soon as possible, only 22%. Look at where we are now. It's a complete flip. It's the inverse. Now 69% want to negotiate to end the war as soon as possible, compared to just 24% who want to fight until Ukraine wins. That's a 49-point drop in this position.
All right, so because I know that it's hard if you're listening on the radio, Ukrainians on the war versus Russia negotiate to end the war ASAP. In 2022, 22%. Now, 69% want this war to be over as soon as possible. 69%. Now, one of the big differences, I think, is that right now Vladimir Putin is bombing further into Ukraine, and he is hitting residential areas. And now if you paid attention to the news overnight, Russia and Ukraine, they're bombing the hell out of each other. And I don't know if this meeting is ever going to happen between Putin and Zelensky, but Ukrainians, they want this war to be over as soon as possible. In 2022, 73% said they wanted to fight until Ukraine wins in 2022, 3 years ago. Now, only 24%. So as Harry Enton said, a complete reversal. The people of Ukraine, and I think that literally the people of the world, want this thing to end and end quickly. One of the main people that doesn't want this war to end quickly, obviously, clearly, is Vladimir Zelensky.
Now, of course, negotiating to end the war as soon as possible, that's a bit more nuanced, right? Ukrainians don't want to agree to all of Russia's demand, but I think the idea of even there being some territory that would be not formally recognized as being given that Russia could in fact stay in, that does have majority support, but the idea of formal recognition of Russia's demands, absolutely not.
All right. Why do you think that opinion has changed to the extent that it has?
Well, I think one of the big reasons why...
Gee, I don't know, because they're getting the living crap bombed out of them, and they have no men left in Ukraine. You ever thought about that, Joan?
That's
who
horrendous.
Who in Ukraine is going to be able to, reproduce?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, the men are just gone. And
It's
the rumors are
dreadful.
that Zelensky has, started to pull people off the street and force them to fight.
It's a horrendous situation. It's got to end, and that's what President Trump has been saying all along. It's got to end.
It does. The interesting thing when you look at what's going on is that the media, and I've got some great audio to prove this, but the media, and I've said this last several days now, the media, they are rooting for Donald Trump to lose by not being able to solve this problem. And it's astonishing. I mean, when you look at to be perfectly clear, when you look at the evil nature of the media as they are criticizing Donald Trump's every move as the president is trying to save lives, and Democrats too, it just proves how low they can go. Here's more from Harry Enton.
My opinions have changed is this idea that this war is going to end anytime soon. Ukrainians don't think it will. Take a look here. Ukrainians on the war ending within a year. Just 25% say that it is likely. Look at this. 68%. 68% say it is unlikely that the war will, in fact, end in a year. And you'll notice, John, this 68% looks a heck of a lot like this 69% who say that they want to negotiate to end the war as soon as possible.
So it's interesting. So in other words, the people of Ukraine, they want the war to end as quickly as possible through a negotiation, but they don't really believe that it's going to. It sounds like in Ukraine, they've kind of lost hope. Not a lot of men left. They keep getting bombed. Zelensky is acting like a petulant child. And Vladimir Putin, I think, and I heard somebody talking about this. I don't remember who it was. But people are talking about, and some people are saying that ultimately what Vladimir Putin is doing is he's just trying to run out the clock. It's like Trump said, no, we're going to get on the phone immediately and try to get Putin and Zelensky together. That's what we really need to do.
So President Trump overnight ruled out Ukraine joining NATO, seemingly ever. But what do Ukrainians feel about that?
Yeah, obviously Ukrainians would like to join NATO. That has been a goal of theirs for a number of years. But the idea that that NATO admission will happen within 10 years, look at the collapse in this position. 2022, it was 64%. Now it is just half that level at 32%. So, again, this is one of the goals that, Ukrainians had since the beginning of the war. They no longer believe that it's achievable. Well, the idea that Russia is going to be forced out of all of that land that they're occupying, they don't necessarily believe that that is going to happen. So, again, I think this is one of the reasons why Ukrainians, they certainly don't want to accede to every Russian position, certainly not most of them, but the idea that they do want to negotiate an end to this war as soon as possible, that has now gone through the roof.
All right, so should Ukraine be admitted to NATO? In 2022, 64% thought that, yeah, that's going to happen. Now, 2025, only 32%. And you know what? Hey, Louis, real quick, and Joan, I want your opinion. So do you think that Vladimir Putin, do you believe that he is really interested in negotiating? Is he negotiating in good faith? Do you believe that he really wants this war to end? So, Louis, what I want the poll to be, because we're in such disarray this morning, seconds before the show came on the air, we didn't get a poll up either. So, real quick, Louis, the poll question is, do you believe Vladimir Putin is negotiating in good faith with Trump/Zelensky? Yes or no? Joan, do you think he's negotiating in good faith, Vladimir Putin, or do you think that he's just trying to run out the clock so that he can continue to, bomb as much as he can? And then ultimately, if the negotiations end up failing, Putin will say, well, couldn't get a deal done, so we're just going to keep making more and more inroads into Ukraine.
Yeah, I think that is exactly how I see it anyway, because I'm reading stories about how, President Trump has set up this availability for him and for Zelensky to speak, and he keeps delaying. He's got these delay tactics. Well,
yep.
I want to invite Zelensky here. Well, Zelensky's not going to go to Russia to speak to him. Of course not. That's a danger.
Oh, my Lord. Can you imagine Zelensky going to Russia?
That would be insane.
He would be arrested and he'd be in jail, executed, whatever.
Yeah.
Poisoned.
I think that's the preferred choice.
Yeah,
so now they're talking about what, Budapest or something?
Yeah.
And so they're scoping out a place for it to be done, and he just keeps on sort of moving the goalpost.
He is.
So if he can't get it done, like you said, I tried. I tried.
He's not negotiating. My official talk show host position is I don't believe that Vladimir Putin is negotiating in good faith. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
It is up to Donald Trump now to treat Putin like the murderous dictator that he is. If he's not willing to negotiate in good faith, and again, I don't believe that he is, I think that Donald Trump is trying his best to find an end to this war. But if he can't, then Trump needs to do what he needs to do to sanction them to the point and arm NATO by selling them weaponry to the point where he is definitely helping NATO so that they can help Ukraine. And he's got to do whatever he can to sanction the living crap out of Russia with sanctions and secondary sanctions that will actually have an impact on Vladimir Putin and Russia. Because we know that sanctions, honestly, they don't traditionally work with Russia because they can just do what they do with China. They can just do what they do with Iran and North Korea as well. So there's ways that Russia has been able to skirt U.S. sanctions before. And so Trump needs to get really aggressive with not only Russia, but also with the other nations that Russia does business with. We're talking about China. We're talking about Iran. We're talking about North Korea and the other nations, but that's like the gruesome foursome. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. Do you have any closing thoughts on that, Joan, before we move on?
I think you've said it all, Dan.
Okay, very good. Hey, you want to go to my X feed at Dan Mandis Show? Do you know what I always say about Bernie Sanders? Do you know what I call him?
No.
You don't remember that I call Bernie Sanders Balloon Hair Bernie?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there is now a meme out there, and let me see if I can pull it up real quick. It is a picture of Bernie Sanders, and it's his balloon hair is flying all over the place, and it's Bernie Sanders, and it says, "I don't always comb my hair, but when I do, I use a balloon."
That's awesome.
I love it. Now, I cannot be the first one that's called him Balloon Hair Bernie. I'm certain that other people have, because it's just too obvious. A lot of people chiming in on the super text line, by the way. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. We are going to end it there, but coming up, Tom McDonald is out promoting his album. We played that audio. We played some of his music yesterday, and that The Devil Lives in, what is it? The Devil is a Democrat? Is that what it is?
I think it is, yeah.
His new song? That's right. Thank you, Louie. So he came out with another little ad campaign for this, and he's talking about, of course, Gavin Newsom. I've got that for you coming up as well. I have Caroline Levitt. Did you watch Caroline Levitt's press conference yesterday, Joan?
I did. It was
holy smokes.
So fantastic.
She absolutely smoked the media. So I'm going to play that audio for you as well.
Including Fox News.
Well, you know what...
Jackie Heinrich.
Yes, you know what Jackie Heinrich did, right?
Yes, I watched her do it. I was stunned and amazed.
I didn't do it on WTN. I did it overnight, Red Eye Radio, Saturday morning. Maybe I'll revisit the lead up to that, because Jackie Heinrich, I'm going to be honest with you, I wonder if she got a little talking to, because of the way that she framed the meeting with Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin on Fox News, and how the host, Brian Kilmeade, put her in her place. I mean, it was actually awkward. All right, I've got to play the audio now. I'll see if I can find it. But and I think I've only got the audio. I think this was before I was doing video. But I'll play it, the lead up to it. And Caroline Levitt and Jackie Heinrich, you know, Joan, the only thing I can say about their conversation is, wow.
Yeah.
Is that sexist?
No.
It wasn't? Okay, like a cat fight kind of a thing?
Yeah, maybe it is.
Whatever. Anyway, I do believe, though, that Caroline Levitt won. It is 5:52. Got a lot more straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News. Joan has the news coming up at 6. Joan.